Welcome to the Week 6 NAIA Men's Volleyball Recap video. I'm joined here by Jack Stark, the head men's volleyball coach at Georgetown College, which in previous videos I have mistakenly called Georgetown University at times. I'm sure you get that a lot though, right?
Yeah,
Um,
occasionally.
it wouldn't be the first time. And I'll tell you, I run into that because I grew up right outside of Washington, D.C., and my dad worked at a school that's like right down the street from Georgetown University. And so
Hmm.
that's just like where my mind goes. But Jack is coaching the team that crushed us last year in the finals. You were not coaching there at the time, but first year there. Give the audience a little bit of your background and kind of how you ended up at Georgetown, real quick, before we jump into this past week's news.
Yeah. So, it was kind of just interesting timing. So I label myself as the retired athlete. I graduated not too long ago in 2020. So it's a little bit of a newer journey, but I played at St. Andrews University when it started up way back in the day, and was playing, and then kind of went to Mount Mercy University in Cedar Rapids where the tournament was, and that's where my first kind of coaching started. Did that for 2 years, even used my COVID year because why the heck not? And messed around there. And after when that came done, I kind of in that place of, oh man, like I've been doing this for 22 years and I don't have anything else I want to do. So like let's keep checking out the coaching journey. And so I had met the wife back in North Carolina, so I moved back instead of staying in Iowa, and just waited till an opportunity popped up. And then a small little D3 school in Asheville, North Carolina popped up with a men's job. And I said, oh, let's do it. So I started that program up last year and was kind of trying to build that up from the ground up and doing that and kind of enjoying it. We did well. I had like literally nothing and just finding the mesh pieces together. And by time May came around, I was like, all right, well, that was good. And then we had a wedding. I got married. And then my old coach, who is now the coach at University of Rio Grande, was like, hey, Georgetown won. And then, hey, a month later, hey, Georgetown's looking for a coach. I was like, oh, okay. Uh, should I give it a go? And I was like, sure, why not? And that went through it, and I meshed well with the AD, and I was like, well, it was more my style. Like I felt more comfortable. I was like, NAIA, I did it for 4 years. I played well, and I was like, this feels more like my place. And yeah, came in early August and kind of started meshing, getting to meet the guys from the team last year that were still there, and working to bond with them. And it's been good so far.
Very
So
cool.
yeah,
Just jumping into the reigning national champion. So,
yeah. There was
and
pressure.
I am putting this together right now. So this past week, you played your old coach then, didn't you?
I did. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Joked
Okay.
around a bit. Yeah.
So you're 1-0 against him right now.
I am 1-0. Yeah, in the NAI standards. Yeah, 1-0.
That's better than being 0-1 against him.
Yeah,
So that is I'm sure that was a pretty cool game. So
it
all right,
was.
let's jump into this a little bit.
Okay.
This past week, we had our, I guess, second top 15 ranking. You are not a voter, but give me your overall thoughts on what you saw from the top 15 rankings. I think you guys, number 8 in this last ranking is kind of where you guys fell. Is that about what you expected? Any surprises from that ranking or thoughts?
Overall, from how we started to now, no, and it's kind of it's fair. Like we lost a lot of guys, and that's a whole set of chemistry that that takes time to build up. And we was it even though it wasn't me scheduling it, that we played St. X for our very first match. So totally
Definitely.
it's a good shell shocking way to see where you stand, and we did not come ready to go. And so it's kind of helped us grow through it. And we're still trying to develop when we're down, but we're doing well, we're doing fine. And we've got to play. We played them, we played Cornerstone and Indiana Tech when they were in the top 15 last time in the preseason rankings, and you know, we we're doing good. I feel like if every game we're getting a little bit better and better, and I think we should totally, regardless of where we end up standing, I feel good that we should always be in the top 10. We should
Yeah,
be in that.
yeah. And in either way, your conference gets an automatic bid at the end of the year, and if you win your conference tournament, you get there to nationals. And as those same guys in your team figured out last year, if you get
Yeah,
hot at the end, it sure helps.
just get hot.
Yep, for sure. So, all right, let me read through a little bit of the rankings just so our viewers can see it. You can also find this at NAIA.org under men's volleyball. It was the last post they put up. But in this last rankings, coming in number one was my program, the Masters, currently sitting at 7-0. And we got all of the number one rankings. Number two was St. Xavier, also undefeated at 9-0. Or I'm sorry, they're 11-0 right now. They were 9-0 at the time of the ranking. Number three was Lawrence Tech, and Lawrence Tech is actually our last undefeated team. They're sitting at 7-0 right now. Number four is the top of the Heart of America Conference is Grandview. They're sitting at 6-1 right now. They beat Mount Mercy this past week. That is showing to be a pretty good win, as well. I'm sure we'll go into later. Number five was Park, Missouri, who's sitting at 8-2 right now. They lost to Mount Mercy in 5 and beat Clark in 3. Number six was Cornerstone. They're sitting at 11-1 right now, 9-1 at the time of the rankings. They beat Lourdes, Mount Vernon, Nazarene, and Indiana Tech this past week. Number seven was Missouri Baptist. They're sitting at 7-2. They beat Dort and Morningside this past week. We have your program, Georgetown, number 8. You guys are sitting at 7-2 right now with wins over Rio Grande and Oakland City this past week. Number 9 was Benedictine Mesa. They're sitting at 7-2. They did not compete this past week. Number 10 was Mount Mercy. They are sitting at 9-2 right now. They lost to Grandview in 4 sets this past week, but then bounced back, beat Park, Missouri in 5 and Ottawa in 4. Number 11 was Westcliff. They're sitting at 7-3 right now. They beat Hope International. I think that was a 5-setter. Number 12 was Missouri Valley. They had no games this past week. I want to say off the top of my head, they had a game that was canceled due to weather or postponed or something. Number 13 was Hope International out in California. They're sitting at 7-3 right now. They beat UC Merced in 3 and then lost to Westcliff in 5. Number 14 was Reinhardt. They're sitting at 9-2 right now. They beat St. Andrews this past week. That's your old team, right?
It is.
Number 15, also out of the same conference, is St. Thomas in Florida. They're sitting at 6-1 right now with wins over Life and Talladega. William Penn, Campbellsville, and Indiana Tech dropped from the top 15 from the first poll. And then receiving votes is William Penn, Campbellsville, Cumberland, UC Merced, Indiana Tech, Oakland City, Olivet Nazarene, Weber International, Morningside, Lourdes, and Jamestown. So that was kind of the week recap. One of the things that kind of stood out to me this past week that I was pleasantly surprised at is if you look at the rankings from this whole past round of the top 15, for the most part, it goes fairly in order of actual records. You have your 0-loss teams at the top. You've got a lot of your 1-loss teams. You got a lot of your 2-loss teams. All right. There's a couple anomalies of St. Thomas at 4-1 right now at number 15, and then Westcliff at number 11 being a 3-loss team. But their 3 losses are to my program, Masters. Who else did they lose to? I think they lost to Park, Missouri. And then Benedictine Mesa, all 3 teams ahead of them. So none of them are considered bad losses by any means. But I was kind of impressed and glad with the ratings that it kind of followed that order. Because once in a while in NAIA volleyball, especially early in the year, we can use previous years or reputation way too heavily rather than actual results. And so that was a good thing. I think there was a little bit, and I know you're not one of the Raiders, but maybe a little bit of question marks about, how to rank a school like Benedictine Mesa and Missouri Valley, right? They have one head to head. Missouri Valley won that match up in Jamestown a couple weeks ago. And yet Benedictine Mesa is coming in at number 9 right now. And Missouri Valley's at number 12. That being said, I think that was Missouri Valley's best win that they've had so far. And they haven't played a whole lot of games yet. So I'm kind of interested to see how that starts to slide or move as Missouri Valley gets into Heart of America play a little bit more in the next couple weeks. So any other thoughts or surprises that you had kind of on that list?
No, I mean, yeah, St. Thomas I thought was the anomaly for sure, and then it's kind of similar. Like again, when I used that COVID year to play in the Heart, like it when conference play starts, there will be ups and downs, like moments where teams will beat, and then home court advantage makes a big difference in the Heart, and then away games. So, no, overall, yeah, those pretty similar thoughts mainly.
Yeah, if you're talking about that home court advantage, I think that might have been part of the story in the Mount Mercy versus Park game this past week, which is also very interesting. Now that the Heart of America Conference is larger, they kind of split into a North and South region.
Right.
And so within their region, from what I understand, they're going to play the teams in the North. The North teams will play North teams twice, and they will only cross over and play the opposite region teams once.
Yeah.
And so I believe that Park, Missouri, and Mount Mercy are in 2 different regions, which means they only play one time this year.
Yeah.
Right. And so that matchup is over. That head to head is over for the rest of the year. And Mount Mercy had that game at home this year. And so kind of a big deal in terms of looking at head to heads between a couple of these teams.
Yeah.
When you're only playing them once, that one game matters quite a bit.
Yeah.
So that was kind of very interesting to me. So, okay, I want to get a little bit more of your perspective on specifically 3 of the teams that we just mentioned. And they're all 3 teams that you've played this year. St. Xavier, Reinhardt, and Cornerstone are 3 games in your schedule that I think you guys, lost to St. Xavier, beat Reinhardt, lost to Cornerstone?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. Let's start with St. Xavier. Talk to me about what you saw. I know you guys didn't feel like you played that well that night, but talk to me about that team and what you saw. I'm sure you saw them more than just that game, but you guys were up there for that tournament.
Yeah, no, I think they're they're a solid team this year, and it's there was talking with the old players and seeing from last year the question of how effective pin wise was, and I think getting the Jamestown outside helped a lot, but I think they're a good team, and when they're hot, when their opposites are hot, when they do a really well 6-2, if their Polish is ready to go, that's hard to stop, and I think that's their bread and butter. And when the pins are doing well, they're hard to beat when you got both pins going well. So
I haven't been able to see a lot of actual video on them yet, but I have been tracking some box scores, and I know they opened up that first weekend kind of running that 6-2. And having Matt Pinella set and hit. In the most recent box scores, Cameron Daniels, I think his name is, their other setter, was the one with all of their assists. And so I think Matt Pinella has been playing 6 rotations as a hitter a little bit more often right now. And they've been switching things up and going back and forth. And so normally, a team will start to switch things up after they're losing, but maybe it's someone's sick, someone's out, someone's injured, but looks like they will be going maybe back and forth between the 6-2 look and the 5-1 look throughout the year. Would not be surprising. which is always tough to scout against
Yeah.
and to prepare for because you're not sure exactly what you're getting
Yeah.
each night. And so, but they certainly have the depth to be able to run that 6-2 pretty well. So, all right, jumping to Reinhardt. I have seen just about nothing from Reinhardt this year on my end. We did get to play one of their old players, Rodolfo Begelmeyer, who's now on Westcliff right now.
Yeah.
So I know they lost him from last year, but who do they have right now? And is it an international crew or what's their team looking like?
So for the starting lineup, it is mostly international. Their OH2 last year was the Spanish. Um, Gabriel is kind of their reliable guy right now, and it's kind of similar as the libero from last year, and he picks up a lot of balls, and I think they do really well to receive and defense, and so it's kind of what we did is we kind of just worked on pushing and trying to shut down the pins, and so they go back and forth. But they have two solid right sides that they kind of switch, and they also do a 6-2, and so that sometimes is I think where I don't know. It's interesting sometimes how it works out, but it's kind of I think they might still be doing that 6-2. I don't know if they've changed it, but it works out. I think they have two solid oppos that go in for the setters, and they have a lefty Polish outside right now that if he's hot is good, and
The lefty outside
a
combo is
lefty
an
outside,
interesting one.
yeah. But he did well against us too.
Yeah.
Like he probably we right like Gabriel is kind of sometimes their OH1, and we shut him down, but the Polish lefty kind of just maybe because he was lefty, I don't know, but he gave us more trouble than Gabriel did, and that's made the sets pretty close. But no, I mean they're overall they can do it. I think it will be them and St. Thomas for whoever's going to take that AAC spot. So
Yep. Yep. The thing about the lefty outside is for most teams, it is so hard to prepare for. You just don't see it every day in your gym, right? So it's very rare, very difficult to just prep there. So no, that makes a lot of sense. And then Cornerstone, give me a rundown on kind of how that game went. I didn't get to watch it all myself, but I know Cornerstone seems to be a pretty talented program this year.
Yeah, they're very talented, I think, and I think if last time I remember looking, like I think it's just a lot of chemistry. It's a good amount of seniors, and I think they're meshing well. And maybe we didn't, like I said, some of it is sickness, and some of it was we just weren't ready to go, and they were, and so wasn't our best day, but they're solid pins. Broadster is when he's on, he's a very high jumping Belize player who will go off if he goes off, and
Yeah,
sometimes if he doesn't make a change, it's hard to stop.
yeah,
So I mean, they're very pin heavy, and they're rocking with it. The Brazilian seller does a good job of pushing balls out of system and running good plays, and so Libero was better than I gave him credit for, and yeah, they took us one, and so no two credits. I mean, they literally, and then
yeah.
they went and smacked all the other teams we played too. So they had a really good start. I think it'll be interesting to see when they go into conference play between them and Lawrence Tech.
Yeah, and Lawrence Tech got them once. That is their one loss right now. Is the Lawrence Tech, and I could see, I'm sure Jacob Page, the Lawrence Tech coach, could see them going back and forth. Right.
Yeah.
I will say, as if we would track the standings the same way, and I know there's differences here, but if the standings were this way at the very end, there's a good chance whoever loses in the finals, if they both got there, would still be at nationals.
Yeah.
That conference will certainly be considered for one or two at-large bids. They've got a couple teams right in that top six, and if we would track it and at-large seeding or at-large bids actually followed seedings, which they don't always. Right about that 6 number would kind of 6, 7, 8 would be the cutoff of where at-large bid falls. So it's always very interesting to track, and we'll see how it develops throughout the year. So, give me a little bit of a rundown of what you expect in your conference this year. I know you guys seems like the team to beat, but who are the other teams in your conference right now that you think are going to give you guys the best shot and run for your money here?
Yeah, so I think really ultimately there's about 4 or 5, and Cumberland's and Campbellsville will be two of the teams that I think will try to gun for it. And then after that, they've got a young team, but like Oakland City and Rio, like if they make some changes, I think they're right there with them. But we also have sleeper teams that, like, if Brescia's been playing well, they could, if we don't come ready to go. But yeah, that's like 5 or 6, same area of the woods maybe, but that's.
Have you been able to watch Cumberland and Campbellsville much yet?
Not yet.
I know you guys haven't played them yet.
Okay. No, we have not played.
So you'll be getting into that shortly.
Yeah, we'll be getting to that shortly. I've heard things, and I know Alfonso had some last minute changes from last semester to this semester, and so that kind of changes stuff. But they could.
Now, going into those last minute changes, did you guys? I know this is like much more of a common theme in the NAIA than it is in the NCAA. But did you guys make mid-semester changes in your roster at all? Do you have any new people that weren't there in the fall that are now on your team right now? Or
yeah, and then that was kind of my mission, just because, like, we went from 9 seniors graduating and then a couple doing that coaching transfer. We had like 11 guys, so I recruited 3 new guys into the spring, and some of that maybe, I don't know, luck, but they've been super helpful. One was a transfer, one was a gap year freshman, and the third was a international from Argentina that we brought in, and so it's been super helpful to at least for practice, and is any amount of depth. So that's super helpful for us. But yeah,
we've done that. We've done that 2 times. I want to say 2 or 3 times in my last 4 years coaching. So some years we've had like 1 additional guy come in mid-semester. But it's always interesting trying to like figure out, because we do so much, at least my program, we do so much in the fall.
Yeah.
That anybody that jumps in halfway through is jumping right in the middle of it. And it is at the start of season, but with how much we do in the fall, it's a different feel for sure, them jumping in. Now, without jumping in specifics on those 3 guys, let's move this conversation a little bit to kind of how did that work from the financial aid standpoint or scholarship standpoint? Like, how does your school structure things, and the schools that you've been a part of structure things regarding scholarships and bringing people in, and kind of the structure of that?
Yeah, so especially in my short tenure, the couple of schools I've been to, like, most often is there's kind of some type of averaging system, and something that gets thrown around that sometimes isn't understood properly is like athletic and academic scholarships. So we're a school where we don't do athletic and academic, but we pretty much look at the student still and kind of combine it of both. And so sometimes people will say, oh, it's an athletic scholarship for, say,
stacked or not.
Yeah, and it's because we're doing a little bit academic and athletic, but they're like, okay, so do I get academic scholarship? I'm like, no, unfortunately not, but it's the same amount. Like I kind of, and that sometimes falls on the coach. And what I do is I try to, oh, this is a good student too, so let me, add it to it. So it's where it's like, it should be competitive to where it's like you go to the NCAA, it's like, all right, here's your tiny athletic and here's all the academic. And it's like, all right, well, that's the same amount of money I just gave you.
Yeah. And essentially what, for those watching and wanting to understand this a little bit more, essentially what Jack is saying is, like, if a school cost $50,000 a year, which, some are more, some are less. Maybe they actually want to get $25,000 per student out. And so, for a volleyball team, sometimes we're being communicated with, you can pull in a kid that's paying 30 and another kid that's paying 20, right? You just have to hit that average throughout your whole team. My program is actually a little bit different. We just kind of have a set number. You can either be on a volleyball scholarship or just a package from the school. And so we don't play with the averages as much. But I would say probably most NAIA programs play this averages game. Would you say that's correct?
I would say that's correct, because sometimes I think, maybe it's because I'm the new guy or what, but like we have this rut of, I know some people see us as, oh man, we have rosters of 30 some guys, and some of it is because that's the way the system built out. So, I mean, it gives athletes more opportunities, but sometimes it's interesting how we get these big groups, get large numbers, but it's to better the program a little bit, and also that gives you an opportunity and experience to be part of being on a college program.
Yeah, and I know some schools. I think what we sometimes miss is volleyball coaches is that like schools are businesses at the end of the day, and especially many of our NAIA schools, some are struggling more than others, just in terms of enrollment nowadays, being small schools, not necessarily always having like these big brand names. And so I know a number of schools, they're telling their coaches to, hey, have 40-person roster numbers, right? Or very large roster numbers. And they're just trying to get that up and get tuition in and run it as a business, which, hey, at the end of the day, it is a business. And the volleyball side is kind of just our fun side, right? Even though, that's what we're doing all the time. So in terms of like international kids, right? You guys have a number of internationals, and I would say a lot of NAIA programs have a good number of internationals, right? Do you find that the international kids end up getting larger numbers because of this average stuff, or is that not necessarily true?
It's back and forth. I mean, and some of it does feel like that, and some of it is, unfortunately, it's just because of economics. Like, you try to go get a player from South America, like the currency exchange is, a kid here who has to pay 15, 20, it's like $1 million almost in their currency. And so if, you want to give them an opportunity, you kind of have to, be able to make it as best as possible. So if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, but that kind of falls into it. And sometimes it is a scenario of, hey, like we have this opportunity that, it's not available anywhere else pretty much in the world, that's why it entices so many players. And it's the name of the sport, because we're so young still and growing so at a certain rate to where it's like we have all these X amount of people here in the States, but there's a whole lot of guys in other parts of the world that want to have the same experience. And so it's kind of works out in different ways, but it's more opportunities, and we just are able to give it as best we can.
Yeah. So with the international versus American, what's your current roster makeup of like, are you guys 50-50 or are you guys heavier international?
Right now, from the interesting scenario we had, we're more international right now. So we had a lot of guys from the States graduate last year. On top, about 4 or 5 were in the States, and then about 3 to 4 were international. And so it's like it was a good amount on the side to where now we're at 14, and I'd say 5 of them are in the States. The rest are
okay.
2, 4, 6, 8. Yeah. So it's a little bit over the half of them. But
and what was it like for you with that playing in college? Did you have a lot of international teammates?
Yeah. We ended up see, my first year we had a guy from France. We ended up gradually getting more guys from Puerto Rico, who's now, almost the closest thing to a state. But they're, it's different cultures and different walks of life, and I love it. I think it's not something you should be like, oh my gosh, well, I'm gonna get beat out by some. I find this 6'8" massive guy from Poland who's gonna play over me, but it's like, but he's also like the awesome and most funnest guy to
Yeah.
meet and be around, and those little fun small experience things that you get from seeing an international player.
Do you feel like for you as an American, it increased your college experience having more international teammates, being around more international people, right? Do you think it added value to your college experience?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. From volleyball and life,
Yeah.
it's different how somebody grows up when they come from a different region, and then you find out that they like the same thing, and then you kind of just start meshing, and then you get a guy who's like, then he gets that itch to play, and he's like, "Oh, bro, let's go play something," and then there's just, you're going more and more, and then next thing you know, you're graduated or you're about to leave, and you're like, "Hey, come to France with me or something. Come to Spain. You got a free room. You get to go live and go see a whole different place that you would have never thought you did if you didn't play, or could just
Yeah.
go be part of that." You know.
I think that part is probably missed a lot in the conversation about how many internationals are on all of our rosters. And I'm at a school that, we don't have as many internationals right now. But I think there is, like, again, going back to your point, the life benefits that we're talking about certainly has value. And I'm seeing this conversation come up more and more as everyone is just fanboying over Moni Nikolov at the NCAA level, who, hey, great player for sure. And I've seen some people say, like, hey, we need to limit the international roster. The international kids on NCAA rosters is what they're talking about. And I think, going back to your point, I agree with it. It's just like, I think there's some things that we would be missing out on as Americans in terms of what we're here for, of our education and some like life experience, by not allowing that situation to happen as often. So kind of an interesting portion of the conversation that I don't know if we were meaning to go all the way into, but hey,
Yeah.
hey, that works. Awesome.
It
So
works. It works. Yeah,
yeah,
it's a good spot. Yeah, I mean,
for
and it's
sure.
like it's what got me into it. Honestly, like it was the experience. Like I came from a volleyball family. Mom and dad played forever. They coached in college and all that, and I was loving it. And then by the time my senior of high school, I was like, man, whatever. I don't know. Like I was this close to burning out, and I knew players that burnt out, and I was like, oh. And then so, whether it's a established program or a rinky-dink brand new school out of in the middle of nowhere, and you go and do it, and you just, if you mesh well with the coaches and the players, and it can be the best 4 years of your life. And
Yep,
so if you
yep,
restrict that, it's kind of, yeah, you're missing out a
yeah.
lot on that.
Well, very cool. Well, Jack, thank you for your time today. Really appreciate it. And to the viewers, thank you for tuning in. Again this week, we'll see if we can. I gotta find some more coaches to jump on. I'm starting to run out of names here. So if any coaches are watching this, please email me. I'm filming on Sundays, so and would love to get some more perspectives and coaches on here to represent men's NAIA. But Jack, thank you for coming today, and good luck the rest of your season.
Absolutely. Thank you.